Hey everybody, back for another video, and this time for my long-awaited Mortal Kombat Memories video. I am a huge fan of the Mortal Kombat franchise. I've been a huge fan of the Mortal Kombat franchise since 1996, which is where I was introduced to both Mortal Kombat, the Mortal Kombat 3 series, starting with Trilogy, and the Mortal Kombat 1995, the movie. Ever since then, ever since seeing both of these things, I've been a huge fan of Mortal Kombat. I'm a huge fan of the game. I'm a huge fan of the games. My favorites are Mortal Kombat's 1 through 9, with 1 3 through 8 being the best, and and Mortal Kombat X being my least favorite of the series. Never played Special Forces, never played Shaolin Monks. Loved, loved Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. And I'm a huge fan of everything from the video games to the movies, the cartoons, both the animated feature The Journey Begins, and of course the Saturday morning cartoon, which in my opinion is one of the most underrated Saturday morning cartoons of all time. Mortal Kombat Defenders of Earthrealm. I also loved the series Mortal Kombat Conquest, and I don't like Mortal Kombat Legacy, but I enjoy that. The actors for the series was great. The actors for the series was great, and it was good to see something new Mortal Kombat related. But I didn't like that. It would be better if it didn't have the Mortal Kombat name attached to it. But I'll talk about that more later in this video. Right now, this is just me talking about the Mortal Kombat franchise, and franchise is still going on today. They're having an updated version of Mortal Kombat X being released. There's supposed to be another web series to tie in with Mortal Kombat X sometime this year. They said early 2016, but as you can see, it's early 2016, and that hasn't happened yet. Then of then of course, I keep forgetting his name, I think his name is James Wan, something like that. Well, anyway, this guy signed on to produce a reboot of the film, Mortal Kombat film. So a reboot of the first Mortal Kombat film, which I've been waiting forever. I've been waiting forever for what was supposed to be the sequel, which is now turned into a reboot. The sequel or reboot to Mortal Kombat Annihilation. So yeah, but like I said, I'm a huge fan of the Mortal Kombat series. I've been a huge fan of the Mortal Kombat video games for their fast-paced, intense gameplay, their 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 usage in the early Mortal Kombat games, their usage of digitized actors, their uses of digitized actors, and large, colorful cast of characters, and story. Um, of course, like I said, I got my start in the Mortal Kombat franchise with the Mortal Kombat 3 series, which of course I started with Mortal Kombat Trilogy. I started with Mortal Kombat Trilogy. A friend of mine had an N64, and every day when I used to come home from school, I used to go to this guy's grandmother's house to wait on my dad to pick me up, and where we play Mortal Kombat Trilogy, and I later around a year later got a Sega Genesis of my own, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, and I played the original Mortal Kombat 3 and Ultimate 3 in the arcade several times, and here is where I saw Mortal Kombat Mortal Kombat 4. But before I get to Mortal Kombat 4, I'm gonna talk about the next series. Upstairs in his grandmother's room, upstairs, I think I think in his room actually upstairs in his grandmother's house, he had a Sega Genesis, and here's where I got to play Mortal Kombat 2, which was pretty good. And a friend of mine, had a cousin of mine actually from Charlotte had Mortal Kombat 1, which I got to play on the Sega Genesis, which was pretty cool. And I think I played Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 once in the arcades back when they were still arcade games. I played Mortal Kombat. I played Mortal Kombat 2, 3, Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 a lot. Mortal Kombat 1 I didn't get that much exposure to until actually rather recently. I only played it once at a friend's house and once in the arcade. I didn't get that much exposure to Mortal Kombat 1 up until like recently with the discovery of YouTube, where I got to see a playthrough, and now just recently with the discovery of a retro gaming website where I got to play the Sega Genesis, Sega CD, and Super Nintendo ports of Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, I never got to play the Super Nintendo versions of 1, 2, and 3, which were pretty awesome. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. I so like I said, I got my start with Mortal Kombat with Mortal Kombat 3 and like I said, I was hugely blown away by the large and colorful cast of characters. I loved all the characters in the game, with my favorites being Cabal, Striker, um, both the Sub-Zero brothers, Scorpion, Rain, Reptile, Sonya, Kano, Nightwolf, and I love playing as Liu Kang and Kung Lao, but I didn't like how underpowered they were in Mortal Kombat 3. They were both top of tier characters, but their combos and overall attack power really wasn't that good when they're supposed to be like the main characters of Mortal Kombat. I thought Kung Lao was much better in Mortal Kombat 2 and in any game after 3, and I thought Liu Kang was better in Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 in any game after 3. I hate how underpowered they were in the game. I also love playing as Jax. So like I said, large and colorful cast of characters. Then I love, oh yeah, Johnny Cage. I love the actor. Yeah, the original actor who played Johnny Cage, Daniel Pesina. He had left midway. I love the actor Chris Alexander. Chris Alexander and Johnny Cage's badass design in Mortal Kombat trilogy in Mortal Kombat Mortal Kombat trilogy, and so yeah, these are my favorite characters in that game. Then in Mortal Kombat 2, in Mortal Kombat 2, in Mortal Kombat 2, in Mortal Kombat in Mortal okay, before I get to Mortal Kombat 2, let me go back to trilogy. So yeah, well, no, let me continue with Mortal Kombat 2. In Mortal Kombat 2, my favorite characters were Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Reptile, Jax, and Baraka, and in Mortal Kombat, and oh yeah, and Raiden. Yeah, don't forget Raiden. In Mortal Kombat 1, my favorite characters were Liu Kang. I love Liu Kang's look in Mortal Kombat 1. Yeah, I love Ho San Pak, Liu Kang's live action voice, Liu Kang's actor. Ho San Pak was awesome. Ho San Pak was awesome. I liked him much better than Eddie Wong, who was the guy in '95. I like Ho San Pak much better. But of course, him and the other midway actors left due to I think money issues. But I love Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat 1. The blood sport look with the trunks and the shoes. I thought that was probably Johnny Cage's best look, and I guess that look has never returned due to copyright reasons. That's probably the best look he had besides his trilogy. Besides his trilogy and Mortal Kombat 4 looks, I thought these are when Johnny Cage looked the best. Um, um, but yeah, that look. I love Kano with the white Raiden. I like Raiden. I like his iconic attire, but his white attire and his white attire and the brand new attire he has in the sixth generation video games has to be in his design in Mortal Kombat versus DC with the cape has to be my all-time favorite looks of Raiden. I love the white. I love the white with the black shirt underneath. With the black shirt underneath. Then of course the updated version of his Mortal Kombat 2 look and the sixth generation version where he has the black shin black black socks and black kick pads. And of course, I love the dark Raiden look, and of course, um, the Mortal Kombat versus DC look, where he has where he has where he has blue shin guards, and a cool cape, is that was more of a comic book game. That was more of a comic book game. So yeah, yeah. Like I said, Mortal Kombat trilogy is where I got my start in the franchise. I was immediately a fan of it because this video game, unlike other video games, the only video game to really come close when it came to speed was Eternal Champions and Street Fighter Alpha. Every other fighting game, every other fighting game didn't have the speed, didn't have the fast-paced gameplay of Mortal Kombat. Another thing I loved about Mortal Kombat is when you knock people in the air. One thing they actually introduced this was the cool concept of juggling, and I love the and the difficulty. Difficulty kept me coming back to Mortal Kombat. Kept me coming back to Mortal Kombat. It wasn't, believe it or not, it wasn't until Mortal Kombat 4 where I later gained the ability to play Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. I could never beat the tournament ladders as a child. I can beat them now at least on the easiest level, but as a child I could never beat, not even on the easiest level, could I ever beat the tournament ladders. Could I ever beat the tournament ladders? And I love the tournament ladders in Ultimate 3 and Trilogy, which has several combatants, an endurance match, Motaro and Shao Kahn, and Shao Kahn and Shao Kahn. Ultimate 3, the original Mortal Kombat 3 didn't have didn't have endurance matches, and they also didn't have the ninja characters. The ninja characters instead they were replaced with cybernetic ninjas. Due to demand, they created Ultimate 3 and added the ninja characters back, and of course Mortal Kombat Trilogy was the final update to Mortal Kombat 3. A lot of people were disappointed by this game because by the time this video game came out, people were kind of like moving on from the 2D digitized actors era, and they wanted more 3D games, or at least anime style games like the King of Fighters and the Street Fighter Alpha series. But I still like Mortal Kombat. I played those games, but I still was a I still love Mortal Kombat. I still love Mortal Kombat, and I was Mortal Kombat, and I really don't consider Ultimate 3 and Trilogy new games. I consider them updates to a previous game, kind of like I do with Street Fighter, kind of like I do with Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2. See, I was a huge Street Fighter 2, the Street Fighter 2 updates. But so yeah, like I said, I love the fast-paced gameplay. The only game that come close to the speed of this gameplay was the first Eternals Champions, and that's because you can change the speed setting in the game, and of course the Street Fighter Alpha and Marvel vs. Capcom series was the only games to come close to the speed that Mortal Kombat possess. And I love the fighting, the high punch, low punch, low punch, the iconic uppercut in the air with the guy coming up and saying whoopsie, and of course high kick, low kick. I hate this move, but I use it to my advantage. The back trip, the back trip, um, the back trip, the jumping punch, the flip to punch, the flip to punch, the jumping kick, and the flip to kick, which that move gives me easily advantage. Then the kick in the air, then the uppercut, then the juggle them in the air with the kick, with the jump kick, um, with the jump kick, the then of course another thing I loved about Mortal Kombat was the special moves, because this right here is the only thing I didn't like about Mortal Kombat. While I love the fighting, there was no depth to the combat. That was the one thing I didn't like about Mortal Kombat in comparison to other fighting games that were out at the time. There was no depth to the combat. Everyone fought the same. Nothing was different about the character except for his or her combos, their special maneuvers, and their attack power, their power level, their power level. But the flying the flying the so you had the various special moves, Sub Zero's ice moves. You had Striker and his gun and his baton moves and his bomb. You had Cabal and with his dash maneuver, the pink energy ball that comes from his mask. Pink energy ball that comes from his mask. Um um Snoop Saibot and his shadow moves. So yeah, like I said, the special maneuvers, the special maneuvers. And then I mentioned how I love the uses of digitized actors. Whereas other video games at the time had cartoonish graphics, they were like a cartoon or some kind of anime. Mortal Kombat games like Mortal Kombat, Pit Fighter, and the NBA Jam series had live action digitized actors. Mortal Kombat was like a combination of those martial arts movies, those martial arts movies, um, GI Joe the cartoon, and Marvel and DC. That's what you cross all that to get together. You cross all of that together, you get Mortal Kombat. That's what Mortal Kombat reminds me of. Um, Mortal Kombat reminds me of, and then of course around the same time in the arcade, I used to go to the arcade, which nowadays I used to go to the arcade all the time, a long time ago, and they always had Ultimate Mortal Kombat. They always had Mortal Kombat 3 and Mortal Kombat 3, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, and I used to play them all the time. Then to the left, there was this new arcade machine which had Mortal Kombat 4, and you don't know how blown away I was back in '97 when I saw Mortal Kombat 4, when I saw the Mortal Kombat characters, which for as long as I remember had always been in 3D, had always been in 2D, were now 3D. We're now 3D. 3D like Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct was the first 3D fighting game I've ever played. They had 2D gameplay, but the graphics and stuff were 3D. Were 3D. Killer Instinct. So Mortal Kombat 4, pretty much in my opinion, is where Mortal Kombat became Killer Instinct. Mortal Kombat became Killer Instinct. Killer Instinct was the first you played, and actually, Mortal Kombat 4 got me into 3D fighting games. Mortal Kombat 4 got me into 3D fighting games, but you know, I blown when I saw Mortal Kombat 4, the increased violence, the more serious storyline, and the badass character designs in 3D arenas, and the awesome weapons combat, Then a year later, I brought a year later when I got a PlayStation, I finally got Mortal Kombat 4, and man, was this game! I got Mortal Kombat 4, and I also got Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, which Mythology Sub-Zero accidentally cracked the disc, but Mortal Kombat 4 and Mythology Sub-Zero were blew me away back when I saw them both when I got them both in 1998. Mythology Sub-Zero, Mythology Sub-Zero a cool action adventure game. Was a cool action adventure was a cool action adventure game. Was a cool 3D action adventure game with live action actors. I thought that was pretty cool. Then you had Mortal Kombat 4, which was a 3D game. And Mortal Kombat 4, it was because of Mortal Kombat 4 I actually learned how to play the original um Mortal Kombat games, because Mortal Kombat 4 had a practice mode, had a practice mode, had a practice mode where where you can learn all the moves, and I was able to learn all the special maneuvers and stuff, because my reading ability had improved. So I was able to learn the special maneuvers, and then I was able to go back to Mortal Kombat. then well, I let someone borrow Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and Mortal Kombat 2, and those people had moved. The people who had that game had the person who I let borrow it moved, so I was out of luck, and instead I bought Mortal Kombat Trilogy for PlayStation, and the Mortal Kombat Trilogy game for PlayStation. I like both the PlayStation and the N64 version. I like the N64 version because, in my opinion, the Nintendo versions have have better graphics. In my opinion, have better graphics, but the PlayStation versions have better video and sound and everything. Have better video and sound and had more because and had more on the disc because they were a disc versus a cartridge. I hated how the N64 version was forced to omit the younger Sub-Zero, and they combined his moves with the older Sub-Zero, which I thought was pretty cool. But I hate how they missed. I hate how they were forced to cut the younger Sub-Zero from the game because of cartridge restraints. Um, and I also love Mortal Kombat Trilogy on this because that felt like the hard arcade game. When you got when you lost a lot of matches on that game, you had to put in a combat code to continue. Whereas in Trilogy, it was unlimited continue. So I played Trilogy, but this was an overly simplified version of the game. Then it was kind of disappointing because I always wondered what you would get. What would you unlock any new characters? What you would get when you beat Shao Kahn and what's his name? And when you finally did it, you never unlocked anything. There were codes in the games, and the only hidden character was Chameleon. Was a female version in the N64 version and a male version in the PlayStation version. There were no hidden. There was no hidden. There was really no hidden characters and various other combat codes, but you can put those in screen. You never really got anything other than choosing what you call it, which I remember. There was several other stuff like stuff where you could see fatalities. There was stuff like Gallico or an extra match where you can fight Ermac or Noob Saibot, one of Shao Kahn's lost warriors, something like that. Yeah, so kind of disappointing. Kind of disappointing. When you finally beat the game. So I let a friend of mine borrow Mortal Kombat Trilogy in exchange for his Mortal Kombat 3, and I still wasn't able to beat it despite being much better. And finally, just recently, I've finally been able to beat the game. Now that I haven't mastered the combos, now that I've am better at performing combos, I can at least beat the game on novice. I can at least beat the game on novice. So yeah, and I've played Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 on what's his name. Mortal Kombat 2, I've never beaten. I've never beaten. On the computer, I get bored now because I kind of hate how long the ladder is, the tournament ladder is on Mortal Kombat 2. My favorite parts are the boss battles with Kintaro and Shao Kahn and the endings at the end, and of course prologue, and of course the prologue in the beginning, which talks about the prologue, which gives you the story of the game, and the comic book that came before the game were my favorite parts of the Mortal Kombat 2 game. Mortal Kombat 2, love Mortal Kombat 2, but it's my least favorite. It's my least favorite of the original of the 9 games because it didn't really increase much from Mortal Kombat 1 other than graphics and add some couple of stages. They didn't really add much in Mortal Kombat 2. You got Mortal Kombat 1. You got Mortal Kombat 1, which was awesome. I love Mortal Kombat 1. I love the sound, love the music, especially in the Sega Genesis version. I love all the versions. I think the Super Nintendo version and the Sega CD version were the best. They were the most truest to the arcade version. I love the Genesis theme for their catchy intro theme. I love their catchy intro theme. Capture thing, but the other ones have much better sound. The Nintendo version, which I finally got to play thanks to a retro video game website, the Nintendo version, which a lot of people don't like because of lack of blood, in my opinion, was actually better than the Sega Genesis version. The Nintendo and Sega CD version looked like a live action movie, and just like the arcade game. The Sega Genesis version, while playing just like the arcade game, Looks like a Saturday morning cartoon. Looks like a cartoon in comparison. Uh, and I love Mortal Kombat 1 for its easy. My favorite fatality, that's another thing Mortal Kombat had, was the fatalities. A lot of these fatalities, in my opinion, nowadays really aren't that good. My favorite fatality, of course, was the pit fatality, where on any stage, or just about on a couple of stages, they all had pits. And on Mortal Kombat 1, if you play the Sega CD version and the Nintendo version and the arcade version, and hold the D-pad down, then press uppercut on finish him, you'll knock the guy into the pit. You'll knock the guy into the pit, which is the pit fatality is my favorite fatality is my favorite fatality. So that was the original generation. Before I get to the next generation of Mortal Kombat, I'm going to talk about the next thing. Next thing with Mortal Kombat, the next thing that got me into Mortal Kombat, of course, was the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. Was the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. In 1996, I saw the VHS trailer for Mortal Kombat 1995, the movie coming to VHS in 96, and finally in 97, I finally got to see the movie. You know how blown away I was that Mortal Kombat, which was a video game, finally had a live action movie where all the characters, where some of the characters came to life. Some of the characters came to life, and this movie was just awesome. You don't know how blown away I was seeing Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, Scorpion, Sub Zero, Goro, Shang Tsung, Raiden in a live action movie. And since the story mode, due to the fact that Mortal Kombat focuses more on gameplay, didn't know much about the story about the time. So, and Mortal Kombat 1995, this was the first complete story Mortal Kombat media I actually saw besides the game. So I actually believe that this stuff was canon. Then around the same time in '97, I would see trailers for Mortal Kombat Annihilation and Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I love both the Mortal Kombat movies, and I love Annihilation more, if not better, than Mortal Kombat 1995, because Mortal Kombat Annihilation, despite their problems, the problems with both of the movies nowadays is, believe it or not, people talk about acting, story, and stuff, but that's actually not the problem. The problem is budget. Budget. These films, Mortal Kombat require like the games require like a lot of money, not only for costumes and stuff, but for special effects and special moves. And Mortal Kombat, and both of these movies had what 25 to 30 million dollars to produce a movie. To produce a movie, you need more than that to produce a Mortal Kombat movie, especially the sequel, Annihilation, which its special effects nowadays weren't as good as the first one. But Annihilation Annihilation blew me away with more characters, and Shao Kahn, who was much more imposing and much more intimidating than Shang Tsung. Who was much more intimidating than Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung and Mortal Kombat Annihilation was so awesome. I waited years and years for the sequel that never came to be, because Annihilation not only did it gross less than the first one, but it was, while the first one was ill received by critics, this one was negatively received. This one was even more negatively. This one was widely panned by critics for its story and stuff. But and I still love and enjoy both of these movies now. Like I said, I like Annihilation more the second one, because it continued the story from the first one, and had more characters, and it also had better character design. Now, the only thing I don't like about Mortal Kombat 1995, besides differences from the game, is I don't like the character designs of the ninjas and Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage's suit was cool, but I wish he would have transformed into his Mortal Kombat 1 or 2 attire during the fight sequences. And I wish and Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Reptiles, their costumes were awesome, but their costumes look like foot soldiers, Ninja Turtles. Not I wish they would use the designs of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. That's one thing I love about Annihilation. With Annihilation, since that was a largely adaptation of Mortal Kombat 3, Mortal Kombat 3. They used the Mortal Kombat 3 designs for the ninja costumes. For the ninja costumes, I wish they would have done that in Mortal Kombat 1. Because, like I said, Mortal Kombat 1, they look like foot soldiers. They don't look like intimidating ninjas. They don't like the intimidating ninjas. And Goro in Mortal Kombat 1. I initially didn't like Goro in Mortal Kombat 1. Actually, I still don't like him, mostly because of how easily he was defeated by Johnny Cage. When if you play Mortal Kombat 1 and you play Mortal Kombat 2 with Kintaro, how hard the Shokans are, how hard they are, how hard they are in Goro. And like I said, since this was the only form of this was the since the Mortal Kombat games focus more on gameplay than story. This was the first fully story-related media I've seen of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, of Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, I mean, of the Mortal Kombat series. So I actually thought that this stuff was canon. Come to think of it, if you play Mortal Kombat 4 and you highlight Sub-Zero and press a certain command, you can change his costume, and one of them is an unmasked Sub-Zero, who I mistook for Keith Cook, the actor who portrayed the younger Sub-Zero in Annihilation. Then his other alternate costume is Sub-Zero with ice hands, with ice arms, and ice feet. I mistook that as the elder Sub-Zero back, surprisingly back from the dead, because at this time it hadn't been revealed that the elder Sub-Zero became Noob Saibot. I thought Noob Saibot, because of his backstory, was all but a new character, and I thought the younger Sub-Zero, I thought the older Sub-Zero surprisingly survived the first Mortal Kombat tournament. Was revealed to have survived this battle with Liu Kang. I thought it was Liu Kang who killed the elder Sub-Zero, not Scorpion. And I thought he somehow survived being impaled on some ice and came back and forth, because I thought Sub-Zero, younger Sub-Zero's costume was the older Sub-Zero, and I thought Goro was pure evil. In the Mortal Kombat comics and films and American adaptations, he's made to look pure evil. Where in the games, he's actually, much to my surprise, he's actually an honorable warrior. He's actually neutral. He's in servitude of Shao Kahn. But I was surprised to see that. This is also, and then of course, coming into the sixth generation, I also discovered Wikipedia, where I learned more about the story. And right here, this is where I discovered the comic books, which I've been looking for forever. I remember reading on Wikipedia about the Mortal Kombat comic books, and I remember playing the video games and seeing none of this stuff in the games. None of this stuff in the games. That's because a lot of the stuff was in the comic book prologues before the games. Then of course, I finally got to read the Mortal Kombat comics now, and of course I did a review on it, which I'm gonna upload in a minute. I haven't uploaded it yet, but I did a review on the original Mortal Kombat comics. Then I'm gonna reread and review the Malibu and Battle Wave comics, which are these are the reimagining of the Mortal Kombat. These are the reimagining of the Mortal Kombat franchise comics, and the originals. The Midway produced comics are comics that acted as a prologue to both Mortal Kombat 2 and 4. I wish 3 would have had one, and I wish they would have adapted the whole game, so people would know who fought who in the tournament. Tournament. Then of course, around that same time, I also saw Defenders of Earthrealm, the cartoon. I love this cartoon. It acts as a sequel to Mortal Kombat 1. It ignores Annihilation. And it adapts the storylines from Mortal Kombat 3. And each character comes to life in this cartoon. While the cartoon is comical and cheesy, if you were to make a cartoon about Mortal Kombat, all the characters here are pretty much act how I would picture them, and the cartoon, while lacking the violence of the game, still stays true to what Mortal Kombat was. And even one thing I thought was cool, even had the music from the even had the rock and roll music from the from the first movie from the first movie. Thought the voice acting was good. I thought the animation was good, even though it does look funny when they you can see the limits on animation during some of the fight scenes and during some of when they're doing the scenes where they run, where it's hilarious about how the characters run in the video game. And the animation looks like something like X-Men and DC and the storylines were awesome. The only thing I don't like about the game, and this is something I don't like about that entire Mortal Kombat universe, is that Scorpion in that universe is made look pure evil in contrast to his neutral alignment in the game. It contrasts to his neutral alignment in the game. That's the only thing I don't like about that series. But that right there was an awesome series. It sucks it was canceled after only 13 episodes, but USA decided to get rid of its cartoon block. But yeah, I love the Mortal Kombat cartoon. I love the Journey Begins. I used to watch it all the time. The Journey Begins animated feature was dark, was dark, campy, and scary. In my opinion, captured the essence of Mortal Kombat, and they did a good job explaining the backstory of the Mortal Kombat tournaments, the backstory of the Mortal Kombat tournament, and the backstory of characters like Shang Tsung, Goro, Sub Zero, and Scorpion. I also love the backstory of the Mortal Kombat tournament. How I thought the tournament was set up by the Elder Gods. I didn't know it was I didn't know it was set up by Liu Kang's people, the Order of Light. The Order of Light, and became a ruthless game when Shang Tsung entered and revealed his dark power when he killed one of the Grand Masters by stealing his soul. And by stealing his soul. So Mortal Kombat The Journey Begins was an awesome animated feature. Then I love the behind the scenes feature. The behind the scenes feature where they show you the behind the scenes of the original Mortal Kombat 1995 movie. They show the actors, the stunts, and everything. I thought that was pretty cool. Then of course, yeah, the original that was the original generation for that was the fourth and fifth generation of Mortal Kombat. Then of course into the sixth generation of Mortal Kombat. I love the 3D era of Mortal Kombat's. That was one of the other things I loved about Mortal Kombat. This was up until Mortal Kombat 9. One thing I loved about Mortal Kombat was they always said, this is good, but how can we make this better? In each game, they try to make it better. Most companies, when they have a fighting game, they have this, if it's not broke, don't fix it, and you usually get more of the same game. Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter is still the same thing it was 20 something years ago now, which I'm kind of disappointed by. But Mortal Kombat has evolved and changed over time. One thing I love was in the 3D titles, Deadly Alliance, Deception and Armageddon. One thing I love the first off, I love the arena style combat, the 3D arena style combat, circling and moving around in a circle. I prefer fighting like that instead of the old school arcade side scroller style, which is what most games, which is what I hate. Mortal Kombat. They've recently went back to that with 9 with 9 and X. So I like that. I like you got three fighting styles, two hand-to-hand combat styles, and a weapon style. I thought that was pretty cool. The storylines are darker than ever. In the first four Mortal Kombat storylines, the good guys always triumph. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance marked the first time the bad guys won. No one stopped the Deadly Alliance, leaving only Raiden to stop it. He failed. He failed, and was forced to sacrifice himself to stop Unaga. Was forced to team up with Shang Tsung and Quan Chi and stop Unaga. And he sacrificed himself and failed to stop Unaga. And Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. We're gonna start off with Deadly Alliance. Love Deadly Alliance. The only I like the new characters: Malvado, Li Mei, and Kenshi, and Kenshi, Kenshi, Kenshi. Then of course you have the returning characters: Sub Zero, Scorpion, Johnny Cage, Sonya, Quan Chi, Shang Tsung, and of course Kano. Also love the new character Bo Rai Cho, Liu Kang and Kung Lao's teacher, teacher. The only things I don't like about this game is how hard it is to unlock the other characters in this game, and I do not like the conquest mode. I do not like the conquest mode in this game. I would prefer a story mode where with each character where you link each character's story into one where you get to play as all characters like in Mortal Kombat 8 and 9 or an action adventure story which they had in Mortal Kombat Armageddon. This was a hero's journey story where you travel and learn moves and stuff and collect money and stuff to use in the crypt, which is where you buy the other characters, which is the only thing I don't like. I don't like how the other characters in the game, how you have to buy them. I much prefer doing counter them in story mode or arcade mode, beat them and unlock them instead of trying to win a lot of money to pay for them in the crypt mode. I do not like that. Then the crypt mode, there's way too much in the crypt mode that you lose track of what you're trying to that you'll never get to buy what you want to buy because you're always buying unnecessary prizes like comic book art and concept work art. Then of course love the character endings, love the gameplay, love the 3 man boss battle, which I think is Moloch, a giant monster who is hard to beat. Then after you beat him, you face the deadly alliance of Quan Chi and Shang Tsung. You get that character's ending, which I thought was cool. And I love the new character design. I love the design. Sub Zero has an updated look of his Mortal Kombat 3 look. He has facial features which shows his age, and of course, I love his ice arms. Scorpion has a look resembling that of a samurai, I love Quan Chi's new design without the shirt and the spikes, without the shirt with the spikes on it, and um Shang Tsung's design is cool. Shang Tsung's design is cool, but I prefer his Mortal Kombat 1 design and his movie and Mortal Kombat versus DC design. And of course, um, Kung Lao, I love his new design, but I love his original design more. Kano, I love his design. His new design reminds me of the late Trevor Goddard, who portrayed Kano in Mortal Kombat 1995's design. And and I loved Melvado's design and Kenchi's design, so I like the new character designs. Then, of course, in the sequel, Deception, which a lot of people consider to be the best of the 3D trilogy of games. I love Deception. I loved Deception. I love the new character. I love first off they have the returning characters: Nightwolf, Cabal, Sub Zero, Scorpion, Baraka, Molina, and Ermac, and I love the new characters. I love the new characters. My favorite of the new characters are Darius, Darius, and Darius and Cobra. Um, I like the storyline in this game, but I do not like the story mode. The story mode is a RPG where you walk around learning moves and collecting money, fulfilling a quest for um for a special voice that later turns out to be Unaga, and you control a boy named Shinjiko. I said love the storyline, but don't like the story mode. Then of course there's Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Then of course Mortal Kombat Armageddon, and I love this Mortal Kombat. First of all, for since this was the final Mortal Kombat game on the PS2 and in the seventh generation before they started something new in the eighth generation, they had every character who had appeared in the Mortal Kombat franchise thus far, living or dead. And I love the new backstory. That was a cool way to close out Mortal Kombat. And I love the new characters, Taven and Dagon. And I loved Conquest mode. I love Conquest mode here. See, here they made it an action adventure beat 'em up versus a lame RPG from the first one. a lame RPG from the first one, and from the second game, or the crappy hero story from the first game. They came up starring the characters Taven, Taven, the main protagonist, an Indian warrior who goes on a quest, who goes on his quest to reunite with his brother Dagon, something like that. Don't remember the story. And of course, you have the main antagonist and leader of the Red Dragon faction, Dagon. So this was awesome right here, and I love how this game brought back every character who's appeared in Mortal Kombat, and they're available from the start. You know, I don't have to unlock anyone. I don't have to unlock anyone in the crypt and stuff. In the crypt and stuff. I also love the create a fighter feature, create a fighter feature, and I also love the easy breaker and killer fatality combos. Fatality combos. And the last game, I also love the knocking people on. I also love, speaking of fatalities, they had the stage brutalities where midway through the fight, if you're fighting on a high level, you get to knock a guy into a specific booby trap somewhere like that where you'll win the round just like that. I thought that was pretty cool too. Um, And so yeah, I love Mortal Kombat. Armageddon. And all these games had some of the coolest intros I've ever seen, with Deception and Armageddon probably having the best intros I've ever seen of a Mortal Kombat game. And of course, after Mortal Kombat 7 ended, next was Mortal Kombat 8, Mortal Kombat versus DC Heroes, which this game has a lot of mixed reviews because of the lack of unlockable content, the and of course the toned down finishers. But this right here, in my opinion, is one of the best Mortal Kombat games of all time, and is probably the best crossover game I've seen. One thing I look about is, unlike other crossover games where they have characters crossing over, this game had a reason. Not only did it have a reason for these characters crossing over, but it had a. I love how this fighting game. This was pretty much one of the first fighting games to combine everyone's individual storyline into one gigantic storyline. You got to play as the Mortal Kombat and the DC characters, and each of these characters were true to who they were, personality, not only personality wise, but fighting style wise. The DC characters, believe it or not, excluding Joker, Batman, and Deathstroke, were extremely powerful. Were extremely powerful, but weren't. With the exception of Green Lantern, Batman, with the exception of Green Lantern, Batman, and Deathstroke, but were poor fighters in comparison to the Mortal Kombat characters. Mortal Kombat characters were nowhere near as powerful as the DC characters, but were much better fighters, and I prefer to play as the Mortal Kombat characters. The only DC characters I like playing is our Green Lantern. The only DC characters that I like playing as are Green Lantern, Deathstroke, and Darkseid. But also like playing as Superman, Batman, and Shazam and Flash too. He was also pretty cool too. But the Mortal Kombat characters are much better to play as, are much better to play as. And I loved how in this game, so this was a comic book game. They first, I'm gonna start with the gameplay. They got rid of the fighting styles from the last game and added three new features. First off, which is a close up similar to boxing, where the fighter closes up and your idea is to land as many hits as possible. Then another cool feature where you knock the guy off the plane and you guys fight in the air like a combo. If you guys fight in the air, your job is to hit a combo. You can reverse the guy by constantly switching over. Your goal is to land a bunch of combos before you hit the ground. Then the last game, the last feature, which allows you to drive people through the wall, through the wall like Superman. So adding new mini games in place of the fighting styles from the last one to make it larger than life, because the whole thing is like a comic book. And speaking of comic book, each character has a more cartoonish and redesigned comic book look to go with the video game, to go with to go with the video game. Like I said, this video game right here was awesome. The only two things I didn't like about this game was, well, since this was one of the first video games of the seventh generation, and Midway, who would later become NetherRealm Studios, were kind of bankrupt, were kind of on the verge of going bankrupt at this time. They didn't. This video game didn't have a large roster. Quan Chi, who's in story mode, couldn't be added to the couldn't make the final cut. Couldn't make the final cut due to money problems. So the low roster and the fact that apart from arcade mode, versus mode for two players, story both the story modes, the Mortal Kombat and DC story parts of the game, and of course a crappy combo challenge mode. There really isn't much to do in this game. Oh yeah, the online mode. Apart from the crappy combo, there isn't much to really do um, in this video game. Wish they could have added more modes and stuff like that. And yeah, then of course, but I like Mortal Kombat versus DC. I actually thought this non-canon Elseworld story was better than the current Mortal Kombat storyline we're in now. Next was Mortal Kombat 9, which is Mortal Kombat 9, which I hated up until I bought the game, and after buying the game, I actually liked the game for improving on in places where Mortal Kombat versus DC universe failed. Mortal Kombat 9, I love they have much better graphics. They successfully rebooted the franchise. And I loved how, just like versus DC, they connect each individual story into one gigantic story, and you were pretty much in nostalgia. You were pretty much seeing parts of Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 before your eyes. And only thing I like about this game was the gameplay. But I'll talk more about that in another video talking about these games. Then of course you have Mortal Kombat X, which I haven't played yet, but I've seen several playthroughs, and I've seen the story mode, which the story mode is the only reason I haven't wanted this game. The storyline is the only reason I haven't tuned into this game. Really didn't care much for the game because, like I said, up until I bought Mortal Kombat 2011, I didn't like Mortal Kombat 2011. But I loved, first off, I love several things about the game, which included I love the increased dialogues in between the fights and before the fights, which they've got from the Street Fighter series. The increased dialogues for every character, and I like the combos are much better, and the gameplay is much better here than it was in Mortal Kombat 2011. Three things I don't like the side scroller. I also don't like how a lot of the classic Mortal Kombat characters were just made cameos in story mode, were not featured as playable characters, but instead in place of them they have a new cast that nobody cares about, and they have a bunch of third party development. Which I don't care about, but I talk more about that in my Mortal Kombat X rant. I am happy they're releasing an update which has all the DLC which has all the downloadable content in one game. I am happy they're doing that. And I'm also currently reading the Mortal Kombat X comics right now, which are awesome and much better than the game I'm playing. Well, this was my Mortal Kombat memories video. I'm going to be talking more about the different parts of the franchise individually. Alright, I'm out.